Today is Tuesday, March 22nd, and my name is Annika, and I'm with Haley and Angelica interviewing Harry and Thakur.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you tell us your names?
My name is Hari Timam.
And my name is Thakur Mishra.
And where are you from?
I'm from Bhutan.
Originally from Bhutan, a small country situated in between Asia, China and India.
And I know earlier we discussed that you were both from different areas of Bhutan. Could you describe that a little bit?
Actually, when I was in Bhutan, I was like only 5 years old, and I really don't know that much. But for my parents, I was born in a small town called Galefu.
I think where I am from is one of the remotest part of the country, which was isolated from capital city Thimphu, which had no means of transportation, which had no any sort of road connections.
What was that like, living in such an isolated area?
Well, that was a home for several years, and then a home to at least 4 generations from my same family. So irrespective of whether it has a road connection, whether it has a transportation, whether it has any means of access to the capital city, does not necessarily define how the place is. We still love the place. As I said earlier, I mean, it was home to my family for several generations.
If you guys don't mind, would you be willing to tell us why you became a refugee? Like, what was wrong in Bhutan that made you flee?
Actually, on my behalf, for my parents, the main thing I thought it was religion, and also the culture of the country. So, like if you research, like in Bhutan, there's like we speak Nepali, but the official language is Chonka. And my parents used to tell me that even in the school, they banned the Nepali language, and like they fire all the books that was written in Nepali. So they started talking about only everything need to be on Jonka. Even the dress, the dress that we wear and the people from Bhutan, they wear is totally different. So they prefer we have to wear only their dress code, not any Nepali dress. So I think that's why, like, sometimes I feel like when people are talking about the religion and when people are talking about the culture things, I always used to think like the way my parents and my grandparents they went through was really tough. And sometimes I even used to tell people when they're trying to talking with us about the religion is like about talking about the religion. So I always feel that I have in front of in front of me, I have a parents those who have faced a lot of struggle and the torture, and they even left the country to protect their religion and their culture and their values. So that's the main reason I feel. And also, not only that, on my family, actually my grandfather was killed by Bhutan government. They arrested him on early 90s, I think 1990, and I was only 3 years old when he was arrested. The reason they arrested him was he was one of like an elder person and they make him like somebody who helped in a community, like a leader. But what happened was maybe the government don't like that because he's advocating Nepali culture, and Nepali is trying to advocate on behalf of Nepali people. Maybe the government don't like that and they arrest him. And my grandmother, she's still here with us, and she told me that after 1 year they contacted his family and they killed him inside the jail. And after that, what happened was they're looking for my dad because he's the oldest son, and by accidentally they arrest somebody under my dad's name, but they arrest a different person. But my dad has to always be out of the house, and my mom and I was like 3 or 4 years old, we are always at home by self. And my mom used to, tell me this story when I was, like small, like the way she spent her every night without, husband. And like sometimes the army, they just knock the door and, hey, they're trying to, threat her and, trying to give her hard time, like, okay, where's your husband is? We need him right now, or, otherwise we have to, we might kill you guys as well. So, due to that all happened, maybe my parents, they decided money and the land or anything is nothing important in their life. So maybe they made a decision to leave the country. So there's no, they have to stay there each of their second with fear and not happiness. There's no any type of, even the in family, like we have a different type of like festival came in, and every year like 2 or 3 the main festival we have, but most of the time my mom, she spent by herself and I was only with her. So that doesn't make any, there's no any happiness in the family, or there's no any type of family gathering anymore. So maybe after that, all of my family, they decided, I have like 4 uncles and with my dad, so all they decided to leave the country. So, and they feel like maybe, nothing is important in their life, and they decided to leave the country.
How was that journey to get out of the country?
I was 5 years old. Sometimes I was talking with my mom. I remember only couple of things. It was tough because they have to travel in like a truck, and some. I think my parents, as per my parents, they spent like couple of months. I think that when they're on the way to Nepal, from Bhutan to Nepal, there is, you have to cross India. So they spend, a couple of days, a month in India. So it was tough. And also in early, those who came like in 1991, they have a lot of problem because there was no any camp, and they went to a place called Mine in Nepal, like in the side of river, and like people used to get only one the small container, like for one person, just like that, that much rice for 15 days. So there was no any like medical, there was nothing, and I heard like some like community people from Nepal, they helped, they collect money and also the food, but it's still, like thousands of kids, they died. And like I remember, and my mom used to tell me there was thousands of pregnant women, they left the country, even in, anytime they have to leave because there was no any, they don't feel comfortable, and so most of women, they didn't give the birth to their baby, like, because when you're pregnant, you don't need that type of situation and environment. So I think it was really tough, but fortunately my parents don't have to. They didn't go to the mine, so that means when they came in, they directly they were in camp. So that means they're a little safe. And when the camp is started, that means they already have organized the situation about how things work, and they have a small heart. But the people, those who came early and those who are resettled pretty much in mine, they faced a lot of trouble. And I don't know about Thakur family, how they involved. Do you want to talk? Mm-hmm.
How was your experience leaving the country, or the reason why you left?
Yeah, I still recall how I had left Bhutan because I was 7.5 years old, young enough to understand what was unfolding in the country, but then old enough to remember some of the things that were taking place. So as Mr. Hari was earlier saying, like the Nepali books was burned down by the regime from the school. They were banned. I had just started attending school. I think I was into school for about 6 months. That later turned into an army barracks, where my father was taken there and then taken into custody. He lived there for about 91 days under harsh conditions. He was tortured both physically and mentally. And then on the 90th day of his imprisonment, he was asked to sign what was then called as a voluntary migration form, which was written in a language that my father would not understand. It was written in Dzongkha. And Dzongkha, by the way, talking of Dzongkha, it's an official language of Bhutan. It's one of the hardest languages in the world that has no rich literature. It's very difficult when it comes to typing Dzongkha on computer. I have been reading news from within Bhutan that even today people are sort of opposing that the Dzongkha should not be an official language in the country. So you could imagine how the situation would have been back then, when especially people like my father were not understanding what they were signing. But they were forced to sign that at gunpoint, and they didn't have a second chance, but just to follow whatever they were told to do. And when our school was closed, I remember approaching my mom when it gonna open again. She kept saying it would open soon. And then I knew my family members were packing up things, whatever they could from the house. And I still remember I asked my mom where we were headed, and she would tell me like we were headed to a different country, and we would be returning in about a month or two. So that's when I decided to wrap up a couple of books that I had, a couple of pencils, a couple of copies. I wrapped it with a plastic bag, put it inside a wooden box, and I still remember that the box was inside our house. I did this because my mom assured me that we would return home soon. And then I wanted my my school belongings to be as safe as possible when we would return. We had to travel barefoot for 3 days to reach India because we had no any means of transportation, as I indicated earlier. I still remember spending a chilling night in one of the dense forests while we were on our way to Nepal. Probably I have no idea whether my parents knew we were headed to Nepal. They were just getting out of the country. And when we came to India, I don't know whether these were some government officials from the Indian side, whether these were my family members, whether these were some local Indians. All I remember was like we were put into trucks, big trucks that you would see here running on the expressways, and then dumped in Nepal. And now that I look back, what was unfolding back then, one of the questions that I always have on mind was, so why we ended up living in Nepal, not in India? Because usually when people flee their country, they ended up taking refuge in the immediate neighbors. And the only answer that I have found so far is like India was not or India is not as democratic as it's been portrayed in the world. So India was backing whatever Bhutan was doing. So when our people ended up being pushed to India, then the Indian government, instead of giving refuge to these people, it pushed them further towards Nepal. And I lived in a refugee camp in Nepal for 20 years, and the refugee camp that I lived in Nepal is only 300 miles away from my original homeland in Bhutan. And I mean, 26 years have passed by, we have never married.
I remember earlier you guys were talking about the gross of happiness. Would you explain that and how that came to be?
Yeah, Bhutan sort of initiated a concept of gross national happiness in sometimes in 1970s. This was initiated by the fourth king of Bhutan, whose name is Jigme Singye Wangchuk. Talking about Jigme Singye Wangchuk, one of the interesting facts that many people don't know in the world is like he has married 4 sisters from the same family. And then this is a man who is talking about gross national happiness. I mean, you could imagine a king marrying 4 wives which is an indication that he discriminates women very badly. And then is again sort of a champion of what he is referring to as gross national happiness. So what gross national happiness in Bhutan's perspective is, like the well-being of the citizens should be measured in terms of gross national happiness, not in terms of gross domestic product, as the rest of the other countries in the world would do. And it became so successful that even the United Nations adopted sort of Bhutan's concept of gross national happiness. And as far as I know, Vermont in the United States is planning to adopt Bhutan's model of gross national happiness. And it is very unfortunate for people like Hari, me, and then other tens of thousands of people living now in the United States to see that one of the states is trying to adopt a concept that has nothing to do with what it is saying, and that it has a whole lot of different story on the other side. I mean, we could be the live testimonies to the other side of the stories, how our families, including other tens of thousands of people, were evicted out of Bhutan, and then when the government says it has gross national happiness and it has everybody living in Bhutan are sort of happy, is what the government says. If that was the case, then Hari's family, my family, including thousands of other families, would have never left Bhutan. So I believe it is a concept that Bhutan government uses as a tool to cover up all the atrocities it has carried out against its citizens, sometimes in early 1990s. And then this gross national happiness thing from Bhutan, barely outsiders like you have never have heard about gross national happiness. All you might have heard about Bhutan will be like, it's a beautiful country, it's deeply spiritual, it's a Buddhist country, it's a mountainous country. People go there, pay thousands of dollars to go on an exotic vacation. But then the other side of Bhutan should be studied. The other side of Bhutan should be known as well. It's not how you could read in the internet. It has a different, complete side, other side of the story too.
I know earlier we discussed your reasons for fleeing, primarily your journey through India and Nepal, but can you elaborate on how you came to Charlotte or the United States?
Actually, I think on 2007 or 2007, we started hearing about the third country settlement, and pretty much I will, and I think I believe that as soon as I heard about it, I placed my application for IOM. So that's the IOM is an organization that helps to bring refugee to US, and I think I placed 2008. So from 2008, most of the Bhutanese they started coming to US, and as of today, I think maybe 85,000 of Bhutanese they are resettled in US. So, and my family is one of that numbers. On 2009 July, I came to Charlotte, but we do have the IOM. They have their process to bring anybody bring here. Like there's a lot of screening system, like your health and your background, and also they check your thorough background, and sometimes they even deny your application because of some if you have some type of background. So, but my family we decided to come to U.S. The main reason is we heard that this country is a freedom and also the opportunity of land. So, but at first my parents they decided not to come because they don't speak English, and I'm the oldest son from my family, and I have two sisters and one brother. They're very small. They're only 14 and just 2 or 3 years old, and I was over 21, And I started talking to my parents that, hey, I think we might have to go. And my dad actually did not agree, like, no, if you want to go, you can just go, but I'm going to stay with my family here. Then I put my application by myself at first, then, but later, and I started talking to my parents again, trying to make them understand, but finally, they agreed, and I supposed to come on 2008, but due to my parents, one of my interviews was denied, so I have to wait for 1 year. Just I missed one interview, so it's not like an easy process to, enroll in a refugee status, and I mean like to get with the IOM and just come here, but and finally, like my parents also decided to make an application, and we came here all in 2009, but I was here like a week before than my parents. I directly came here in Charlotte in 2009, and since 2009 I'm still here. But everything looked like fine, and I have an anchor like a sponsor when I came here. I have like my friend or my like long relatives who was resettled here in Charlotte. He was the first Bhutanese resettled in Charlotte in 2008, and he sponsored me here as under the refugee status, and I came through the same agency where I'm working today. It was HISE that time, but now it is CRRA, and like I came as a normal refugee in 2009, and I have my apartment, and I remember my friend. I was by myself that night. It was like 12 a.m. and my friend was, like 6 people on a van. They're on the airport. They're waiting for me. So they're like, it was that time. It was so eager to see, one family to another family, because we don't have that much family resettled here in Charlotte at that time. So. And we came after that. I was involved with the case manager, like normally what we do, and they helped me for my apartment. And at first, it was a little hard because to get on the system, and also, even I remember there's a lot of, even my tongue. We have a British tongue, and sometimes even when I was talking with at the beginning, when I was talking with even the doctor or like social worker, they're just listening. Even I remember the incident. I was with my mom in a hospital, that a doctor asked me what language you speak. I said Nepali, and doctor was like, he just keep listening. I was like, I just told you my language, and he's like, oh, what is that? Nepali. And he's like, oh, okay. How we have to spell that? Like if you compare now, most of the hospital, or even in like if you go to any clinic or anywhere, even sometimes you don't have to tell your language. They're gonna tell because day by day everything is going well. And even I think when we came, I don't think we have like a Google Translate in Nepali as well. But now we have that too. So it's a little tough, and also at the same time, I feel like, as you said, as I said earlier, like the family, if you have any member who speak at least some English, I don't think that their family faced a lot of trouble. Then the family don't have anybody from anybody speak the language, because even like we are from camp, like most of the family, they never been to school, and they even don't know about the electricity and things like water. And I recall like when on my way to the U.S., I remember I was like a group. They made us like a captain or somebody in a group, like a leader to direct. And I remember some of our older folks have a problem even to get water from like from the sink, because sometimes you just have to. It's automatic. We never use that. So it's a simple thing, but it's really complicated. But as I said, yeah, it was at beginning. But I still remember the way I traveled around. Like I used to walk around. I used to use a bus, and still I don't need a like a map, because I still remember the bus number, the route, and everything. If anybody need help with that, like they can call me. And I'm so glad I have this job, and since 2012 I'm here working for CRRA as an employment specialist. So it's a good part of my experience that I struggle, but I feel that I'm so glad that I struggled at first, so that gives me a lot of knowledge and I learned. So now I'm using my expert with other clients, those who are coming through this agency as a refugee status. So, and the good part about myself is I have my own story that I can share with them how things work here, and also I already have experience how they came from, and as a refugee, it's not like just the anybody won that title in their life. It's happened for different reasons. So I have a strong feel of that part, and I'm so pleased and I'm so honored to have this job and helping other refugees.
I'm curious because you said that most people in your camp did not know how to speak English, and it's easier for families to come over when someone knows English. How was it difficult for you to learn English? Did you know it when you came here, or?
Actually, I learned from back home. Like honestly, when I came here in 2009, actually my background was math and physics. I have a bachelor degree in math and physics back home, and I thought I can continue my study here in UBS so easily, because I I didn't realize that I have to work this many hours, and I thought, oh, maybe the US, I can say like maybe we did not get enough orientation through the overseas, because I thought I can easily continue my study with no any problem. But when I came here, my parents, my mom and dad, they're sick, maybe due to some climatic change, and all my siblings, they went to this school, all they're under 18. So I'm only the one employable family member from my family. So even today, like since 7 years, I was really frustrated. At first, I was depressed, like since until 2010, because I spent most of my time when I was in back home, pretty much my life, like in a college. And I remember my dad used to pay all of my bill, and I really don't have to worry about I have to work and I have to pay the bills. So but when I came here, since today I didn't get a chance to go back to college yet. So but I know that I'll definitely I'll get back to the college, maybe in near future. Like when we're talking about the language, so I never been to I never, pretty much it's my experience. And like I remember when I came in 2009, I used to tell like my community people, hey, if you need any help, like if you're sick, if you have any problem with the food stamp or Medicaid, please call me, let me know, because I want to learn. So that's the way how I learn. And even I remember I have a story, like one time the doctor asked the patient, okay, what is your eye pressure? I thought it's a high pressure, like all I know is high pressure. So like things like that, I never know that I also had they measure the pressure on the eye. So like small, like that's the way I learned. I involved mostly in a community, and I started helping like people who speak my language, and the family those who they don't have anybody speak the English well in the family. So that's the main thing. Like I always feel from that experience, I always feel that to learn something, it's not that, even especially in language piece, it's not that you have to attend the school. There's a lot of way to learn. And as I said, like I have an incident. Like sometimes I just don't feel like some. I started. I remember when I was in a hospital. When I was trying to tell my date of birth, I remember one of they start trying to make fun of like, oh, can you tell me that again? And I never realized that, okay, the numbers, I understand the way our tongue, like we learn British tongue, and it's totally different. Like sometimes our accent is really strong. But with the numbers piece, I don't think that's true, because one is one in British and one is one in American. So, we faced like, people, even like sometime, that's why I started now, when I talking with somebody, and if I know that, now I know how much the person is understanding. And even when I talking with my clients, because I have to always I have to tell them, hey, don't worry about the language. Like, when I take them for the job interview, they always like, oh, I don't speak any English, so what's gonna happen? How employer gonna react with me? And I always trying to tell them, try your best. And most of the employer who I work with, they know that nobody's fluent, and like they know that what's your background, and all they need is your interest for the job. So the thing is, sometimes I and I always push my clients try to speak and as much as they can and try to write. Like, even I have an intake session every like twice a month, so I always prefer them to write something, their name, their address. But most of the time they're so hesitant to make a mistake. But the thing is, on the same time, if they never try, then they're never gonna learn. But my point is, they don't have to attend the school or the college to learn the language. They can practice. Everything is like a practice, like a math. Practice make a man perfect. So I just feel so that's the way I learned my language. But it's not that I've been to the school or college that here and I learned the English. But I used to speak from back home, and like as I said, the good part. Sometimes I just feel that I think we are I used to hear back home that we are one of the luckiest refugee that got a like study based, like all of our subject was under the English base. So there's only one subject under Nepali. So that's the reason we learned English. So even from the primary.
What would you say was your biggest challenge moving to the United States?
Oh, okay. Because I've been talking. Okay. I think if I'm talking in general, like if I'm talking on behalf of my family, I think mostly the language. Is sometimes I just feel. When people are talking about there's only one God, why we don't have only one language, So instead of having different, so I feel, and the experience that I have, from this job, I always feel that language is is a challenge part, and also as a newcomers refugee, transportation is also the biggest challenge because you have to make it to the appointment. You have to be there on time, so. It doesn't matter where you are from. Doctor don't care about how long you've been in this country. They know is you have to make it on time. So I feel like transportation and the language are those two main factors. It's gonna be a big challenge. And it's still even today I have 5 clients. They're going to start working from Monday, but I know that I have to struggle to find them a ride. So, and sometimes we do have like a staff who train them how to use a bus, but it's still like somebody who never use a bus, then versus like never travel, because pretty much and back home mostly, like as Thakur said, even I remember when I was in 6th grade, that's the first time I wear pants. Like most of the time, it's economic reason, and there was a lot of region on the back. So I think when I was in 6th grade, that's the first time I wear pants when I been to the school. And I remember when we were in the school, there was no any dress code as well, because they know that if they have a dress code system, it's hard to make it so. And if you have a dress code, so you have to wear. So I remember when I was in school, like they really don't require about that part. But like as I said, I think the two main factors, like transportation and the language, those are the two big challenge for any refugee those who are coming to U.S. and pretty much not. But the good part is, in U.S. The English is enough. But I have a friend who resettled in Norway. He has to learn now. Norway, like a different language than English. Even the English did not work. So that's another big challenge, because the worst part, and I hate to share this, but we left the country because of the language piece. That like as Thakur said, Jonka is one of the hardest. Like language. I believe even when I came here, I know more Spanish now than way than Jonka. So, but but even we have to study in on I think under grade 8 we have to study Jonka language. That's like a mandatory. But we left the country due to the language, and now some of our folks they are facing another challenge when they resettle to the different country, like in Norway, like even they learn English back home, but still the English did not work. And even in Canada, like some state, like they have to speak a French, like even the English did not work. So I think luckily the U.S. is good for that. Like still it's still is challenge, but the thing is the good part is at least if you have some English, like you can make it most of the state, but not like Spanish. It's not like really. If we know Spanish, I think that's gonna be good. But it's still But I feel nowadays things are looking so great because if I take my clients to the employer, they already know like okay, hey, this person speaks this language. Even if I have because recently I have a client from Afghanistan, I have from Africa, I have from Burma, Bhutan, and some. Recently, we received some Syrian refugee as well. So, but now I feel like when I take that group, like last week, I have 10 people from different countries. So, but the employer already know about it. Okay, sometimes they even tell me, okay, I know that person is speaking Nepali. I know that person is speaking Burmese. It's so interesting. So, that's the, but it's still it's when you see the clients, and you're mostly welcome if you want to come by one of our intake session, if if you have time, so you can feel we're trying to tell them don't worry about the language, but it's still they look like they're not comfortable and really strong enough to present with the employer, but things are getting better than before. Like as I said, when you tell the doctor that you speak Nepali and doctor didn't respond to you, but now if you even don't have to say Nepali, they know. So it's getting better.
What was your biggest challenge, Thakur?
I think one of the biggest challenges to me was understanding how the culture was so vastly different. How things were not matching to what I had known throughout my life. But then I am more sort of an observant type of individual. So I can learn things by observing without jumping in and then sort of making the conclusion or asking a question that could have been a weird question to the other person listening. But then each time when I saw things that didn't make any sense to me, I was like, what? But then still comprehending it, then preparing myself to be ready to adapt with one of those cultures. And an example of that could be talking with someone by maintaining eyes, like doing the eye contact, talking with a person for several minutes, or it could be several hours. I mean, I come from a culture where we don't do an eye contact as much as people do here. That's because we think that we have to respect the other person listening. So when another person will be listening, it's like doing this, and then especially if the other person are of high government officials, leaders, or anyone, you don't look on their eyes, track it. And although we were trained in the orientation before we left Nepal that it was important we maintain eye contacts while talking with person here, I didn't believe that was the case. But when we came here and then saw, things of that nature were extremely difficult initially. But as I said earlier, I had a way to overcome it just by observing, making sure that the next time when I see something that I adjust with it instead of asking questions or do weird things. And talking about the language thing, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that the American have. That all refugees they only speak English. That's a biggest misconception that people have. I have had people ask me things like, "Hey, how did you learn English?" And if I feel sort of like offended, I have asked them back. So, how do you think I have learned English? Or what does it make you think that English was not my language? You know, I think it's a biggest misconception that many people have here. That they think these people have lived in the refugee camp with a different language, with a different culture. I'm talking about me. I have worked as an interpreter with freelancers, with film producers, with photographers, with journalists traveling to the camp for several years. Aside from already studying English medium schools since primary classes back in Bhutan. But that doesn't mean my English or his English or someone's English from the community would be perfect. But I think it's also one of the biggest misconceptions that people have. That they come here without English. Or assuming that they learn English after they come here. I don't know if it's making any sense to you, but I just want to throw that out.
Yeah, actually, I was talking on general about the challenge part, but like if you're talking like directly on my challenge, yeah, as Thakur said, you know the subculture like in America they have like cultures things. Yeah, like we never call anybody on their name. Like even it was so hard, you know, to get used to. And as he said about like have eyes contact thing, and also about we never call anybody, like calling by their name. Like if I'm in school, if I call my teacher, I have to say Sarah. We never call anybody on their name. So I remember when I have a first job, my supervisor name is Johnny, but I did not call him for like maybe 6-7 months, and he always tell me, Harry, don't tell me Sarah, please just call me my name. I was like, I feel like, because, and the other challenge I feel is the law. Still, even, as of today, like, it's so hard about the law part because, we have to, like, most of the things, like, we never have this type of, like we do have the rules and regulation back home. It doesn't mean that we are out of track of the law, but it's not like what we have here. So that's the main thing. Like I always feel like law like is good if you. So I always feel I don't know when I'm gonna learn all things and the cultural things, but I feel the law is also another big challenge to know and like on simple, it's on a very simple example, like, like not trespassing things, like, or do not park, like on some like place like that and things like that. And I always feel like law is the main. Like I always since I come here, and I have a little background of human resource here, so I just always feel. Because I got an opportunity from my other job, like a couple of years before that, I was promoted as a human resource partner. I always have to research, okay, how am I going to handle that situation? Or I always have to ask my boss, okay, how I have to handle that situation? And it takes me time because there's a lot of way that, you have to resolve the issues, and also, like, there's a lot of way how you talk with people. So, I always feel, if I know in advance that we are coming to US, and I really want to suggest if anybody's planning to come US, like if they at least research about the law and the about this country, maybe that helps a lot. Because even like sometimes there's a lot of dress code. Okay, like so simple. We don't actually, pink is only for a girl here. Not there's a lot of things, like it's just general example, but like back home it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the way how you see it. Like this or that, But it takes time. So like I always feel, and and even there's some brand, that represents some subculture group. So it takes time, and you know, and sometimes I can't ignore it. Like I can't, oh, whatever, because I have to represent sometimes to my this job or for my personal life. So it takes time. It's like those are the things I really feel like that also challenge. Like those type of things are also challenge too. And it's even when you're talking with people, and even when you're trying to resolve the issues, and uh, the simple thing, I remember one of my friend, she got a ticket from cops on 2009. I just arrived here and I was in a car, and the cops trying to tell us. Now I know what happened. That time I even speak English, but it doesn't make any sense to me. The cops said that the license plate, the inspection is due, and it was too late. So I went back and I was like, doesn't make any sense to me. And he gave $155 tickets, and the cops don't want to talk to me. He's like, oh, you're the passenger, I'm not going to talk to you. I have to talk to the driver. I was like, the driver don't speak any English, so why not you can talk to me? No. He just gave a ticket, he left. So the next day, I have to help my friend, and because I have to ride with him to go to work, and he's scared to drive. Now, oh, what happened? So next night, again, cops stop us. So like that's the thing. Like I speak language, but also I face that trouble. So I'm thinking on the same way. Like there's 1,000 refugees. They came here, don't speak. So I like my my things are. I feel the law enforcement, and also like as I said earlier about the doctor office. They always think whether who you are, they really don't care. They think, okay, I have to talk this much and that's all. So instead of that, if they at least direct. So I have to find. Then I went to the the police department next week. So I was scared to talk to the cops because I don't know, and most of the cops they are so, and I don't know how I have to approach to him. And we have to pay that, but there's still like a month. But the next night the cops said that you can't drive this car anymore. So that makes me thinking too much. Like okay, if he didn't drive that car, how are we gonna get to work? Because I'm riding with him. So and I approached the cops, but he was with a gun. Like oh my god, I was like, I don't know what I have to tell him, but I have a like a paper the cops gave me, and I just showed that to him, and he told me okay, you have to go to this location. So I don't know where the court is. So and he just tell me okay, this is the address, you have to be there this time, that day. So I remember I have one American friend. He helped me, and I remember he has a 3GS iPhone, and now I remember that. And I didn't know how to use a map too, because I was new and I was okay. And he helped me. He took me from here to. We went to the the bus transit area, and from there he showed me how to use a GPS on a phone, and we are walking. So that way like those type of things I just feel instead of having like as somebody speak even the language, but if you don't know the law and the things like the cultures things, sometimes even that's the big challenge. I really feel I still even now sometimes I just like oh what I just said like it's, there's a lot of things we have to make sure when we talk. And the background that we have was we don't have anybody speak any different language. Like sometimes we have to we have to deal with the tourist and some like a journalist from BBC News. They approach to us like help them for the translating. But other than that, all we speak. And I just want to let you know that in Nepal there's only one. Most of the people they speak Nepali. There's no other language. They do have like some like a dialogue, but mostly everybody understand Nepali. So we always talk in Nepali, and we don't have to worry about okay what I have to tell you, what I have to tell So but here there's a lot of tone, and there's a sign that you use, and there's things. So it's still for me like personally, I'm learning American subculture. So that's that's the big challenge too, I feel.
So, have you been back to Bhutan, or are you planning on ever going back?
Not yet.
No.
But as Thakur mentioned earlier, that going back to Bhutan is, I don't think, still is not an easy piece, because I researched because most of the time, especially I have a grandmother still with me, she live here in Charlotte. She always trying to tell me I want to go because she still has one son back home in Bhutan. So she always asks me, hey, can you take me Bhutan just for like one day or one night? I want to go back. I want to see how things, are there, because like as Thakur said, most of they think that okay they are going back after a month, but that's never happened. So, and I was researching, and it looked like if anybody want to go as a tourist to Bhutan, like they might have to pay like $300 per day if you want to stay there. That's the thing. The other thing, the worst part is when we apply. If I want to travel to Bhutan, and I'm Bhutanese refugee, so they're gonna automatically know, like who am I? Even on my citizenship, I have a country of origin is Bhutan. So, and I heard one of our friend, he applied for visa, and Bhutan government denied his visa, and they took his money, that is $1,100, and he has to fight for like 6 or 7 months to get the money back. So it's still, wanna go, but it's not an easy piece that we can go back. But Nepal is not a problem. We can go back Nepal, but not yet.
Do either of you have anything else you would like to share?
Especially, we're, it's our honor to share our story with you guys, and it's our pleasure. And I always feel like, I used to think before, I don't want to talk to anybody about, what happened to my life when I was back home, because I always think they just come and talk and just, never things gonna happen. But since I arrived here, like, I always feel like we have to talk, we have to share, and maybe that helps. So I feel that that's why, like, now I'm okay. And also, like, as I said, things are getting better and better, because even in, like before, when you would say you speak Nepali, but now you don't have to worry, because like if you involve more and if you share your cultures and your stories, maybe that helps even the community to learn more about you and who you are, and what type of background that you have. And maybe it's more easier for like you guys, maybe you can share your fields to other 100 students. So hey, we have two gentlemen today, they work for refugee there, and they have the same background, like it's going to be extended. So I think thank you for your time, and if you need anything, you're mostly welcome. So we don't mind to share anything, and it's our honor to share our stories.
Yeah, I think one of you emailed me yesterday asking if I would bring anything that reflects certain thing of my culture or whatever it could be. So I brought something in here. So basically this is sort of a notebook that I used from my primary school until my 10th grade back in the refugee camp school. It has like, I believe, 100 pages on it. I haven't written anything on it. And I carry this wherever I go only for one reason. Because this reminds me who I was in several years back. Not only it reminds me who I was, but it also encourages me each time when I see this, that I need to do more. So we used to have like 7 or 8 courses in a single year. So say for instance I was on 5th grade, so I would study 7 or 8 courses. So for 7 or 8 courses, one of the organizations which is listed here used to provide one book, one copy of this for one course, which means I have to have like 7 or 8 of these copies, and then that's it, no more than that. So this was given by someone, which means someone was limiting the way I was studying. So this is exactly like this if you were to take it out and then turn the pages. So each time when you do homework, write anything, I mean, you have certain limitation. That's it. You don't have more copies. And that didn't stop me later from pursuing a degree that I was always interested in, which is journalism and mass communication, which means I write a lot. But my writing was limited because I have limited copies. So later we found a way out to use it for multiple purpose. Like if you were to use this copy with a fountain pen with an ink on it, you gotta wash this copy and then rewrite it on the same copy. But then that would never help if it was a mathematics or science, because you need notes to pass the grade. So I mean, I have kept this on my room in a place where I see sort of every day. People have questioned me when they stop by my house. They have asked why I keep this. Some of them like the idea when I say why I'm keeping this, well others say no, we don't stand by that fact, because past is past. You shouldn't just keep recalling. That doesn't mean when I see its day, it would only remind me of my horrible past, but it keeps moving me forward, and that could be the reason why I added another degree when I came here. Because a situation in the past where even you had limited access to copies does not limit the way that you can pursue your degrees. And I'm actually planning for a master's degree pretty soon. I was interested in one of the degrees that the Queen's has, which is called Masters of Science in Organization Development. But then in my research, I found out like it's hell expensive to afford. And at this time, I'm like already I'm loaded with the debt that I had with the UNCC. But then with the patient time, I don't want to stop studying. And the only dream that I have would be like at least pursuing a doctoral degree as far as I can say as of now. And then I think this thing it's been such a motivating factor to me. And at home I have kept this on top of my, so I have my UNCC diploma certificate right here, and then this one goes on top of it, because I want to remind myself where I come from, where I am, and then that diploma sort of hanging thing might keep going down. But then the fact is that's where I come from. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. We appreciate it.
It's our pleasure.